Okay, good. So just to give a quick recap, I wouldn't go too backward, but we started building an app called Conference Management Application. So we try to understand what a profile means in Salesforce. Like we have different types of users for using the application for different purposes. So you know, we would have to categorize their permissions, and hence Salesforce gives us a feature called as profiles. We already have some standard profiles in the system. For example, system admin is a standard profile, but at the same time, we can also create custom profiles like with whatever permissions that we want, so that we can control what a user can do in Salesforce. Basically, like, we cannot create, we would be creating a profile and assign multiple users. Usually profiles are not created for individual users, okay? So, the more the number of profiles, the more the administrative headache that we have, right? As an administrator, the less the number of profiles, the easier the maintenance is. So, we cannot, if the Salesforce implementation is a good Salesforce implementation, as a good system administrator, we try to keep the profiles to a minimum number possible so that the administration of the company would become easy, okay? If needed, of course, we will be creating custom profiles or new profiles, but before creating a new profile or anything, we need to really think twice to determine whether we really need a profile or, could we accommodate the user in one of the existing profile, okay? So that's how we need to think about it before assigning new profiles, okay? Now, coming to the conference management app, we talked about what application that we are going to build. So we are trying to build a conference management app where we would capture information about sessions, we would capture information about speakers, and then we would try to establish a many-to-many relationship by we'll come to that relationship space. Now, as we spoke before, object is nothing but a table. So in here, let me just share my screen. So if you can see my screen. So the objects that you have here are nothing but the tables that you have here. These are all standard tables, except where, we created employee salary for a different purpose. And then we created a session _C for a different purpose. So for our app, we are using session _C. That doesn't mean this cannot be used anywhere. This object is it belongs to this org, this Salesforce org that we are using, or this Salesforce instance that we are using. So objects can be shared across applications, okay? Any object that you have here can be used in any application that you want. They can be shared. App is nothing but a container, a container just to organize the things within Salesforce, okay? Objects like account and contact might be used almost in every application. It's just that, just to keep things clear. For example, here, we have a conference management app, we have sales app, we have service app, we have marketing app, we have boards. So every app is serving a different purpose, okay? But no matter whether you are a service app, your marketing app, your sales app, contact and account should be there. Without those, these apps do not exist. But we are creating a different app so that we have the flexibility. From a UI perspective, we have the flexibility to be able to group all the objects that are needed under one umbrella. That's one major reason. The other major reason is, you see, when we create an app, right, in the profile, remember we spoke about profile, right? In the profile, when I think you notice when we are creating an app, it asked us which profiles you want to enable for this app, okay? And we only chose system administrator profile. That means this app we are only seeing for system administrator profile, okay? So if we are building an app for HR people, we can only enable it for HR profile. So this way what happens, any other profile user, when they log in, they won't even see this here. Okay, except system administrator, if any other person logs into their system, they wouldn't even see this app here. When they don't even see this app here, there is no way they will be able to access this session object and all those things. So, I mean, these apps, objects, tabs, these are the user interface components that are helping us to be able to control security. Okay. Any questions so far? Did you guys try creating an app? I mean, it doesn't have to be this app, but did you guys try creating any other app?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. Any questions or anything that you encountered while creating that app?
Yes, it was different from classic. Like we have to select different kinds. Like I was not able to view my app in the home page or the app launcher page. So it
Uh-huh.
took time to me to understand how to display it.
Okay, but were you able to finally get it?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. See, that's all the thing that we need. But once you figure it out, that's it. You know, you will be using the same thing again and again so many times. As long as you figure it out, that's great. Okay. Okay. I just want you guys to enable one setting in your org, which will help you with development. Okay, I'll just tell you what it is. Let's go to setup. Session settings. Let's go to session settings. You can make a note of it if you want. I just want to uncheck this. Okay, enable secure and persistent browser caching to improve performance. I just want to uncheck this and save. Okay, I'll show you what the checkbox is again. Let me go to session settings. Okay, and if you scroll up on top, there is an option in caching. So there is a section called caching. In caching, there is a checkbox called enable secure and persistent browser caching, improve performance. So I want you to uncheck this and save. Okay. Let me tell you what this does. I think the name itself is browser caching to improve performance. What now? Remember this. Don't ever uncheck this in production environments. Okay, if this is our testing environment, yes, absolutely uncheck this. But let's never again. This is our production environment, but we are also actively doing the development. So let's treat it as a development environment. So try not unchecking this in production environment, but in sandbox environments or in developer orgs like what we our orgs, let's uncheck this. You know what this is, right? So let's say, for example, let's say you clicked on App Launcher, you open this page. Okay, so when you open this page, what happened? You opened it in your browser. Okay, now all the contents and everything, browser has a cache, like a storage. So all the content that is rendered here will be in the browser cache. Okay, so now you go somewhere else, and when you come again onto this page, like, maybe you go to sales page and, or you click this conference management again. So when you come here again, rather than reaching to the server and reloading the page, what happens is, if your this session setting, like persistent browser caching to improve, so if your session setting is enabled, what the browser, like what Salesforce does is, it would take the content from the browser cache, whatever that's stored in the browser, and it tries to render that page. Now, what is the problem? I mean, what is the advantage with it? The advantage with that is so much performance improvement. So if you're trying to open a page that's already open, that you opened before, you are trying to, like when you try to open it, that page will be opened fastly, like that page will be opened quickly and you get performance improvement. Whereas if this is unchecked, okay, what happens is we are saying, hey, I don't want the performance. Make sure, don't even use the browser cache. Try to always render the content from the server. Okay. So for a development environment, this is very good because in a development environment, we keep adding the fields, we keep adding tabs, we keep adding all those things. So when we are actively developing, we want to see the changes that we are making, right? So that way, this is a good setting to be unchecked in a development environment, whereas in production environment, it would give performance improvement. Okay. Remember, I think yesterday when we tried to add a tab, we had to refresh this page 4 or 5 times to be able to see the change that we were making. So, we'll be frustrated after some time. That's why this setting will help us. Okay. Yeah, you can just remember it. And I do it whenever I am working in a developer sandbox environment. I always try to uncheck this. Okay, especially in Lightning. In Classic, we don't have to do anything like that, but in Lightning, yeah, we need it. Okay, so we have something. We have an object. We have topic as one of the field, and then we have schedule time on the session, and then we are trying to learn about data types. A couple of data types that we learned about are one is text, and another one is what you call date time, and then we also learned how to create a tab, because without a tab, there is no way you can access this object. I mean, of course, in the backend, you can have access, but without creating a tab, from a user standpoint, we will not be able to expose this object for them to use. Okay, so that's why we created a tab called Session Tab, and then when you click on New, you see the date time, and this stuff. And then we also learn a couple things. How to make a field mandatory. When we set this field as required at the field level, this was automatically showing a star image here. And when we hit save, it was asking to fill this. Like when I hit save, it's asking us to fill this. So in the same way, when we made this as required, it was asking us to fill that information. Okay, and then we also saw what help text is. See, this help text thing, it seems so simple. All you have to do is just go to a field and add just help text. But believe me, you'll get so many tickets, so many requests from business analysts asking, hey, can you add this help text for me? Can you make sure to show this help text on a field? In Salesforce, it's so easy, but you'll get so many tickets. And, when you add that help text, you'll get so many applauses as well from the BAs. Oh, wow, you did this. You gave this help text for me. I know it's easy, but from the business perspective, it's very useful, and you get these requests to add help text on an ad hoc basis so many times. Okay? Any questions so far? All right. Now, I just want to add, okay, we have what fields we have. We have topic and schedule time. Let me add what you call agenda. Okay, let me add a field called agenda. Okay. So in order to do that, we go to setup. We go to object manager, and then we go to our object called session, and then of course fields and relationships. Then I click new. So what should be the data type for agenda? Tell me what should be the data type here.
Date and time?
No, we are talking about agenda, the meeting agenda.
Text.
Yeah, I mean, you see, in text, you see a lot of text, right? Which text would be useful?
Long text.
That's good. That's good. So text area long, because, again, it's very self-explanatory. You can just see what it is. Of course, text area long, because we need more characters. Like, we might need more characters in the agenda. So I'll just say agenda. I mean, we might not need these many, but I'll just say 5,000. Okay. Number of visible lines is nothing but how big the field should appear there. And again, help text. If you want to add the help text, you can add the help text. Okay. Now, you might be wondering what default value is. I'll show you what default value is here. Okay. I'll just say okay. I just added some default value and I'll show you what it means. Now, you see here, this field, it's asking, okay, these are all the profiles that we have. To which profile you want to enable access to. So for now, I'm going to just say system administrator. Okay, I just say system administrator. Okay, now we also have another setting, visible and read only. So can you tell me, can you just guess the difference between these two?
Visible means it will show. Read only means we can change or we can modify, or the admin we can see.
I think it's the opposite. Opposite is nothing but, see, if you say visible, just visible, I know it's a little bit confusing, but if you say just visible, that means you will be able to see the field and you will be also be able to make edit to the field. Like you will be able to change the value in it. If I say visible and read only, this means you will be able to see the field and but you will not be able to make any updates. Okay, you will not be able to update the value in the field. Okay. Now, but let's not worry about it for us. When we create custom profiles, let's worry about it. But is there any reason to panic like, oh, I'm not understanding what visible, I'm not understanding what read only? No, there is always a setting when you are really doing it, like, when you have a requirement, you come here, you change the setting as visible, try to test one record, create a record and check whether you're able to update the value or not. Set it to read only and do it. Like, you do it hardly takes 30 seconds to be able to run these two tests. And based on whatever your test result is, you will choose the right option. So there is really no need to panic or remember what are the options that are available. Okay. On the whole, you just need to know the features. Okay, I can control the app access for a profile. I can control a field level access, like whether to show a field or whether to make it read only or required. Like, I have these features that are available. If you just know those, automatically, when the time comes, you can always, play around in this area, in the configuration area, and you can figure out what it is. Okay. But the important thing is to navigate, to log in, to put in that effort is the important thing. Okay. So I'll say next. We'll come back to this later and hit save. Okay. So we added the field called agenda. Let's refresh this. You see this? Yesterday, like a couple days ago, I think when we were trying to add a new field, it was taking like too many refreshes to be able to show this. But now that we disable that browser caching, it just appears right away. Okay. So let me create a new record. You see the default value here? This value is already populated. Because we set the default value, this value is already populated. Like whatever value that we gave there, it's already populated. Let's say you want to populate this with the current time, you can just make the default value as now, so that when you're trying to create a new record, it would already populate to the current time. So this agenda is nothing but you can clear it out and you can save it. But by default, when you open it in the UI, by default, what is the value that you see is nothing but the default value. And you see, because you chose long text area, we have the ability to be able to enter up to 5,000 characters. And you see, Salesforce is dynamic enough. Based on your field type, it's automatically rendering the UI. Like, if it is a short text, it's rendering like this. If it is a long text, it's giving us a big box. If it is a daytime, These are all the things that are available already. Okay. Now, I just want to say one more field. One more field is, I think, level, right? One other field that we thought is level, whether it's intermediate, advanced, or beginner level. Okay. So we have a topic, we have a scheduled date time, and we have an agenda, and I want to have one more field called level, which indicates whether it's intermediate, beginner, or advanced level. Now, let's go here. Okay, I'm already here. I want to create a field called, tell me which data type I should choose here. For level, I want to, sorry?
Picklist.
Okay, good. What is the advantage that I get with Picklist that I don't get with the text field? Why shouldn't I choose text and why should I choose Picklist?
Already data is there, like the options are there, you don't have to type.
That's good. So whenever, like, a text field is nothing but, we call it a free text. That means anybody is free to enter anything. Whereas a Picklist, if you know there are only a finite set of values that are possible, always create a Picklist. Don't give a free text to the user. Always give a free text so that user will pick the value that they want to pick up. Okay? And what is the advantage with it? The advantage is there is no chance of fat fingering. Nobody can make a spelling mistake. Users will only choose the values that we are asking them to choose. And the other thing is the reporting will be so consistent, right? If you are trying to report, like if you are trying to generate a report on the topic, if you're trying to create a report on the topic development, it's so hard because topic is a free text field. Anybody can type anything. And sometimes they can also make spelling mistakes. Whereas if you create a field called level with intermediate, advanced, and beginner, and if you want to create a report, say how many sessions were created in this month for beginner level, how many beginner level sessions were created. So because the spelling and everything is a finite set of value, the reporting will also be more accurate. So anytime you have a chance, always create a Picklist. Now, what is the difference between Picklist and multi-select Picklist here?
You can select one or more in multi, and Picklist is
Yeah,
only one value.
Yes, straightforward. In Picklist, if so, even in this requirement, what we are saying is, we have a level of beginner or intermediate, but if the user want the ability to be able to choose more, like if they, like let's say, if they have a session that is applicable for both beginner and also intermediate people, they can, you can have a multi-select Picklist, so they can select two values, two or like one or more values. Whereas if you want the user to make only one selection, we'll go with the Picklist. So for now, I just want to go with Picklist. Okay. See, the goal or the goal of going through that is, I want you to get familiarized with the data types that we have, so that whenever you are thinking about, like whenever you're designing a schema or whenever there is a requirement that comes up, you need to know, okay, these are all the options that are available for us, and I will, I'll be able to choose one of the option among the available data types. Okay, so I'll just choose Picklist for now. I'll just say level. Okay, let's not go with the global. I'll just say enter values with each value separated by new line. I'll just say beginner, intermediate, advanced. Okay. Okay. Now, you see, this is very straightforward. Display values alphabetically, not in the enter order. Do you want that? Like if I check this checkbox, in the drop down, right? Advanced will come as the first value, beginner will come as the second value, intermediate will come as the last value. Whereas if I don't check this, the values, the way how I entered here, the values will be appearing in the drop down options the way it is. And I don't want to check this. I don't want them to be organized in alphabet order. I want them to appear in the order that I entered. So, I'm not checking this checkbox. Okay. I don't want any default value for this. Okay. I don't want any default value for this. I want them to choose whatever it is. Okay. Now, here is the important one. So, in the backend, at a database level, like imagine in the database level, is Picklist a string or not? Like the difference between Picklist and a text field at the database level, at the backend database level, is there a difference between them? No, right? Because you see, topic, what is the value topic storing? Topic is storing a text value. What is the Picklist storing? Picklist is going to store one of these values, which is nothing but ultimately it's a text. Okay. So in the backend at a database level, there is no data type called Picklist. It's always going to store a string. Okay. Even for a text field or even for a even for a Picklist, it's in the backend at the database level. It's always going to store a string. So now it's asking restrict Picklist values to the defined value set. What does that mean? That means, let's say somebody is loading the data. When I say loading the data, loading the data is nothing but people won't always create data from here, right? For example, this is a company you're already using Siebel CRM. Okay, there are so many CRMs that are already existing. So imagine this is a company that's already using Siebel CRM, and in that Siebel CRM application, this conference management app is already there, already existing. Now, it was existing for 10 years, and they have million rows of data already in the system. Now, they're moving this into Salesforce. They're rebuilding the app into Salesforce CRM. So once the app is built, they have to move all the data that exists in that system into here, right? So when they want to move the data, imagine entering 1 million records like this. It's not possible. Humanly, it's impossible. But so what we can do, there are some tools that are available. Using those tools, what we can do is we can data load. That means, we can use Excel sheet, have all the data in Excel sheet. We can do a backend field mapping. And when we click one button, per second, we can load up to 200 to 300 records. And probably within an hour, we will be able to load all 1 million records possible. Okay. So we have some tools that are available. Of course, we'll use the tools. We'll talk about those tools. So that's nothing but data. So the data is being entered into the system from the backend without using the user interface. If you are using the user interface, of course, you're seeing date time and all that. Now, what is this saying? Restrict Picklist values to the value defined in the set. For example, when I'm doing the data load, okay? When I'm doing the data load in the Excel sheet, I entered a value called ultra advanced. For example, in my old system, there is a value called beginner, intermediate, advanced, and ultra advanced. I'm just giving a dumb example, okay? And from the backend, you are trying to load the data. Now, this checkbox here enables you to control it. So by checking this checkbox, what we are saying is, even if somebody is doing a data load from the backend, make sure they only enter these values, okay? If anybody enters a value, anybody tries to load the data outside of these values, throw them an error, okay? This is, if I uncheck this, even though you only have these 3 values here, but from the backend, if they are trying to load data with some other, because remember, in the backend, it's just a text field. Like in the backend, text field and Picklist are absolutely same from a database perspective. Only from the UI perspective, Picklist is nothing but you are showing some drop-down values. But in the database perspective, it's ultimately storing a text. So there is no difference. If you check this checkbox, we are letting Salesforce know that no matter whether they load it from backend, front end, whatever the way it is, ensure that this value, the value in this field should only be restricted to these 3 values. do not allow them to enter any other value. Okay, so that's, I mean, this is very recent feature. When I say recent, probably Salesforce gave this feature like 1 year ago. Before that, this feature wasn't there. Okay, so did you get what this is? Restricting.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now, should we mark it as required or no?
I mean, you can mark it as no because we are not going to load data from anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, we can, like, if we say required, the red mark is going to show up, and every time we are trying to save a record, the field will be required. If we don't want, like, sometimes, let's mark it required for this one, because we left a couple fields. So it depends. Now again, same thing, whether we want to show this field for everybody or not. And then, I just want to save this. Okay, I go here, I click new. You see, because I made it required, it is showing level. And you see, it is neatly displaying it as beginner, intermediate, or advanced. Okay, it is cleanly displaying it as, whatever the values it is. So even from the backend, because we made it as a restricted pick list, even from the backend, if I am trying to make a spelling mistake during data load, it's going to throw an error and saying, you are only supposed to enter beginner, intermediate, or advanced. You are not supposed to enter anything else. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, I just want to show one more little new feature that's given by Salesforce, okay, which is very helpful actually. You see here for pick list, there is beginner, like, you can see the value, like when I click edit, you can see label is beginner, API name is beginner, okay. Now, sometimes, I'll give you one example from one of our projects, okay. So, we have a billing system. Let's say we have a billing system. That billing system understands only numbers. Okay. That billing system do not understand the value called beginner or advanced or intermediate. It would only understand numbers. Okay. The number that is for beginner, it assigned a number 1. For intermediate, it assigned a number 2. For advanced, it assigned a number 3. Okay. So but if I say level 1, 2, or 3, like let's say instead of beginner, intermediate, and advanced, if I just display 1, 2, 3 here, sometimes user might get confused. Some people might think, oh, level 1 means advanced, or some people might think level 3 means advanced. Okay, so you are causing if we display 1, 2, 3 here, we are causing a issue for the users. Okay, so we want to display, like, in the front end, we want to display the label as beginner, intermediate, advanced, but in the back end, we want to assign a numeric value to it. Okay, so here is what we do. We just change the API name to 1. Okay, and I'll just change the API name to 2 here. I'll just change it to 3 here. Okay, save. Now I go back, refresh this. See, look at here. We are saying values. Beginner, API name is 1. Intermediate, API name is 2. So if I go here and click new, you will still see beginner, intermediate, and advanced. But if you query the database, in the backend, it is storing the value called 1. Like, let's say you create a record. Okay, I'll just create a record, a sample record. Okay, I'll show you what it is. So I'll just say REST API development. Oh, sorry. Date is okay, 12 p.m. Okay, and then I'll just choose intermediate. and hit save. Okay, you see on the UI, you're seeing REST API development agenda, all this, it is intermediate, great. Okay, on the UI, you are seeing this. Let me just query it. You don't have to worry about it, how to use this tool and all. I'll show you again. We will talk about how to use and all that. But for now, I just want to query it from the database, just to show you how the values are storing in the database. Okay, I'll choose the object as session. I'll just choose agenda ID, level, name. You see here, I queried all the record. REST API development. Okay, look at REST API development. Time. Okay, let me query the time as well, just to schedule time and query. Okay, see, REST API development. Agenda is some SF related stuff, which is good. You see, level is intermediate, but you see here, level is storing it as 2. In the database, in the actual database, it is storing the value as just 2. Okay, but in the front end, if you see, it is showing it as intermediate. The reason being, you have this option. Salesforce is dynamically giving those options in order to solve these scenarios. Like in the backend, you might want to capture some codes or some kind of characters that the user may not understand. But on the label, you might want to show. For example, state is a good example. So states, usually we use codes like MA, AL, NY, we use those codes. But on the label, most of the databases are also used to store the states as those 2 characters. But on the front end, you want to show the whole value. What would you do? The value will be Massachusetts, Alabama, New York, but the API name will be MA, NY, AL. So this way, what happens in the backend at the database level, it will store as AL or whatever it is, whatever the code is. But in the front end, Salesforce dynamically re-renders it and show it there. Okay, does it make sense? Again, this is one of the brand new features. And when I say brand new, probably a year or 6 months. It wasn't there from the beginning. This concept wasn't there. It was very recently introduced. Anybody? Any question? Niranjan, do you have a question?
No, earlier, we have to maintain the same API name, but now we can give whatever
Yes.
API name according to our
Exactly.
comfort level.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Yes. Earlier there was no concept of earlier. It was already showing this, and when you edit, it would edit both API name and value. But now Salesforce is giving us the option you can change the API name, you can change this, I've used this feature so many times actually. This feature, I really love this feature because we had so many use cases where the label have to be something else, but the actual value behind the scenes should be something else, which a user might not understand. And I love this feature, that what they have done with this.
No.
Okay. Any questions? See, this is the actual database structure. When I said, hey, between the text and here, yeah, absolutely. There is no difference in what you call the text field and this one. Okay, this is the 18-digit ID. Remember the 18-digit ID that is generated by Salesforce? This is the date time. Okay, I'll show you. We will always work with. This will be your favorite tool once you get used with the databases and all. Workbench will be your favorite tool to work with. You can do millions of things with this. You can literally do everything that you want to do in Salesforce just from here. Okay, so I'll show you one example of creating records from backend. Okay, so you can just simply say insert. You see here, you are inserting you are not using the Salesforce UI. Okay, you are using you are trying to insert from here. Okay, I'll just say this is some agenda. Level, okay, let me try to type in intermediate. Name, test from workbench. I'll just leave the schedule time because it has to be certain format. Now, I'm typing intermediate. When I click insert, should it accept it or shouldn't it accept it? Like if I click insert here, should the record get created or should the record creation fail?
It should fail, I guess.
Why should it fail?
It is on a database level, so.
So what should this be? If it has to succeed, what should this value be?
It should be 2.
Yeah, 2. Okay, let's try. You see, bad value for restricted picklist field intermediate. You see, it got an error, bad value for restricted. Okay, so I go back again, insert. So now I'll just say this is some agenda. I'll just say 1 and name is test from workbench. And I say insert. You see the record got created. And if I go from here and view in Salesforce, I enter the value 1, but if you're looking at this record from the front end, you see it's automatically showing it as beginner. So what do we understand from this? A data creation or data updation, or like, in order to play with the database, in order to load data in the database, you don't exactly need Salesforce UI, okay? So data can come from so many places like Workbench. You can integrate with, like, you might have a third-party application where from there the data might be coming in. You might load the data from. That's why whether it's Lightning or Classic is not important. Understanding the core database, understanding the core pieces, how they work is important, because how the UI is presented, we don't care as long as we understand the core concept. Okay. Now, I just want you to, any questions so far? Like, what is mean by restricted pick list, and what is the advantage that it gave, and what is the difference between the API name and the label name? Any questions so far? Don't worry about this workbench, don't try to worry about, what's the URL, how to access. Don't even worry. We will spend some sessions just working on workbench, okay? Don't worry about it now. Okay, I just want you to do one more thing. Here on the pick list, okay, I'm unchecking this checkbox, okay? Restrict pick list to the values defined in the value set. So I'm unchecking this checkbox and just hit save. Okay, I unchecked restricted pick list values, and let me insert a value from here. Okay, insert, next, some agenda 2. So level, I type in some gibberish value, name, test 1, workbench 2. If I hit insert, should it insert or no? Should the record get created or no?
It should get created.
That's good. It should get created. So when I click, it got created. And when I hit, you see the importance ID here. Every time you are creating a record, automatically this 18-digit ID is getting created. And all I am doing is just view in Salesforce. When I hit view in Salesforce, depending on this ID, it's exactly taking me to that record. Okay. And you see the level is getting created. Even though in the drop down, you still have beginner, intermediate, and advanced, but you see Salesforce still allowed with whatever value that you gave in. Okay. So that is the importance. Importance is nothing but if you want to restrict them, okay, to the only values that are entered in the pick list, check this checkbox. If you want to, like in the UI, you want to give a pick list, but in the backend, if you want to just treat it like a regular text field, uncheck that. Okay, and you will have use cases for both. Okay, you will absolutely have use cases for both scenario. Depending on whatever your scenario, make the best judgment. Okay, any questions so far? Okay. Now, so the final thing that we talked about is we are gonna enter some address information, right? Like, we are gonna store some address information. So let's go to fields and relationships. I'll just add new. Okay. I'll just enter a text field. I'll just name it. I'll go quickly here because now like what is the importance of help text, what is the importance of making a field required. Oh, okay. I just want to talk about this unique field. So what is meant by unique? So let's say, so what is the advantage of this field? I mean, it is very self-explanatory here.
So the same name field cannot be used within the app anywhere.
Not really, not really. Let's say, okay, it really deals about what you call the value that's entered in that field. Okay, let's say I'm creating the field called street, right? And let me mark it as unique. Okay, we'll see what happens. Okay, we'll learn it what happens. I'm marking it as unique. Okay, do not allow duplicate values. Okay, so street, hit next. I'm accepting the defaults. Hit save. Okay, I go here, go to sessions, create new. I'll say topic test 555, 12 p.m. Okay, street, I will just say 123 street. Okay, street, I just marked it as 123 street. Okay, hit save. Oh, level is mandatory. Good. I'm going to choose the level and hit save. Good. The record got saved. Okay, the record got saved with street as 123 street. Good. Now, I'm going to create another record. Test 888. Beginner is intermediate. And my address is 123 street. Should it allow me to do this or not? If I hit save, should the record get saved or not? Technically, from a business perspective, if I hit save, should the record get saved or not?
Yes.
It should, right? It should, because there can be so many addresses with 123 street. But let me try to save. You see, duplicate value found on record with ID. Because I marked it as unique here. Okay, I'll show you street. So because I marked street as unique, that means what we are saying is, if there is one record with this value, like within this object, if there is one record with this value, do not allow another record with the same value. Okay, we are just saying the data in this field is unique. Does it make sense? So let's say, so in which case, like what is one use case you want to do this? Okay, let's say you are capturing customer information. Okay, and you have a field called social security number, and you create that field called SSN double underscore. We say social security number. Would you mark it as unique or not? We will mark it as unique because there is absolutely no way two people will have the same social security number. If the reason why we mark it as unique, because let's say if two people are we are creating another record with the same social security number, it will tell us, hey, I found a duplicate value on this record. This way we will avoid entering duplicate data. That's the advantage of that. So if we have a field like social security number or some kind of Medicaid number or some medical health number, those numbers are unique. They are unique for every individual person. So at the database level, if you want to maintain that, if you want to make sure that only one value is entered, you just check that checkbox called unique, so that Salesforce will not allow you to enter enter a duplicate value. Okay. Now, for the street, in the street case, should we mark it as unique? Absolutely not. Like, we should never be marking this as unique, because absolutely there can be so many cases where 123 street or 72 president, or like whatever the address it is. There are absolutely so many cases that is possible. That's why I unchecked what unique is. And now if I try to hit save, you see it got saved. 2 records with 123 street got saved because I did mark that field as unique. If I had marked that field as unique, the record wouldn't have got saved. Okay? Guys, does it make sense what that unique thing is? See, I mean, are you realizing the importance of the platform now? Like, I'm not sure if you guys worked in any other technologies or anything. I mean, I started working in Salesforce. I've never worked in anything. So I never realized that importance. But, like, imagine platform has done so many things for us, right? Like, all you did is you clicked some buttons and it created a table for us. And when you say, hey, I want a Picklist field, it's giving the UI is automatically generated for you. Like, we didn't create edit button, we didn't create save button, this model pop-up, the date calendar, this drop downs. And if you have to make sure whether it's allow the restricted values or not, the unique field, the UI generation, it's all like we take it granted. But see, that's why people are paying for the platform. I know the software as a service feature is good, the product is good, but Force.com as a platform is also powerful because you can do so many, like we are not even writing a single piece of code, but we are still doing some powerful things, right? Like this unique thing is such a powerful thing. If you have to do it using code, like you would have to write a database trigger. In the database trigger, you have to query, you do a match against that, and then finally find the record and then throw the error. Like you have to do a lot of things to be able to achieve that at the database level. But the platform is giving you such a powerful feature where you can check some checkboxes depending on that. So even though you do not know the code, you're able to do stuff. So that's why development in Salesforce doesn't mean you're only writing code. Development in Salesforce also means that you're effectively using all these features when you're getting the requirements.
Shravan, like normally, how much customization will you do in a project? Will you use like whatever the Salesforce is giving, that is enough, or there will be a lot of customization?
There is no right answer for that, and there is no proper classification on how much customization versus configuration that's needed. It all depends on the project. It all depends on the type of complex things that they want to do. So it really depends. I'll give you an example. Okay, I'll give you an example. So the project, the current project that I work for, we are a heavy customization project. When I say heavy customization project, we don't use this UI. Like we don't use standard Salesforce UI at all, because most of our requirements are like this. Okay, I'll tell you an example. Most of our requirements are, if you choose beginner, I need to see 10 fields here related to beginner. If you choose intermediate, I need to see completely different set of fields that are related to intermediate. If you choose advanced, I need to see completely different set of fields that are related to advanced. Okay, like, you know what I mean? Most of our requirements are like that. And whenever you're typing something, like, the moment you're typing test, it should auto suggest if there are any other records that exist in the system with the name test. Even before user finished completing it, it should say, hey, you already have something named text. Like the UI should be so dynamic enough. Now, that's our requirement. Like, that's how our company works, and that's how they want it. And we are one of the very, very, very rare companies that are using Salesforce that wanted to customize so much. Now, there are other projects that I've been part of which absolutely uses, and they strive to use standard features as much as possible. If you take 90% of the projects, they use Salesforce only because out of the box you are getting so many features. Okay, they use the whole purpose of using Salesforce is out of the box you are getting so many features, and their goal will also be to use out of the box features as much as possible. Only when it is not possible, only when out of the box is unable to cater, you go for the coding. So that's 90% of the project. So understanding out of the box feature is the most important thing because most projects use that. So for your question, the answer is I don't know. Like it really depends on which project that you get.
I mean, you are customizing so heavily in your current project, then what is the reason for your client to go with the Salesforce?
Because we love the platform features. When I say we love the platform, even though the UI we are customizing a lot, we get other features like the profile, field level security, the record level security, the ability to create tables, the ability not to maintain the database. Like if we want to build the same thing on premise, you have to maintain so many things. We don't have to maintain all that. So even though we are customizing the UI heavily, we are getting so many other platform features that is making our life so much easier. Like especially profiles, record level security, the apps, the other things. So we just don't like. I mean, it's not like we don't like the UI. We just wanted more dynamic UI. That's it.
Okay.
And Salesforce has enough tools. I mean, even building the UI, we are still using Salesforce, the platform feature, to build a custom UI, right? So even though that building the custom UI, we are still using standard Salesforce features to do that. Okay. So I think that's why there has to be. But one thing I noticed, let me tell you one thing that I noticed the difference between some of my colleagues that I work versus me. So the first project that I work, right, it's a complete configuration shop. When I say configuration shop, it's out of the box using profiles, permission sets, objects, field level security, page layouts. It's completely configuration shop. Okay, I'm so heavily invested in doing out of the box feature. Now the immediate project that I went on is complete opposite of it, which is heavy customization shop. I really wanted to go there because I worked an year in a configuration shop. I just want to see how the other side of Salesforce is, the development of it. So I just left my comfort zone to move into the development piece. But even though I went into the development world, yeah, I struggled a bit initially to get the coding piece done, but I figured out coding and all. But one thing I really noticed the difference is whenever there is an architecture design that needs to be given, or whenever I think some of the decisions that I make are highly appreciated by others because of the knowledge that I have on the configuration. Like, if you are only working on the development side, whenever the requirements come, everybody jumps right into, okay, let's write code for this. Let's write, let's build something for this. But because if you come with the knowledge of this configuration, even though you are in a heavily customized project, you still apply this. Hey, you know what? There is this feature that can help us. There is something at the field level that you can mark something as unique rather than writing 20 lines of code. So, and those are all time savers. So, there are many instances where some of the things that I bring onto the table were much appreciated because of the understanding or the knowledge that I have on the out-of-the-box features. Okay. All right. Okay. I'll take a couple more minutes to build, these address fields, and we'll call it a day. So I'll go to fields and relationships. So we have street. Next, I will add another text field called city. I'll just go with 255. I'm just accepting the defaults, save and new. street, city, state. Okay. I'll just say state. What should be the state? Like what data type should I select? Which one? Text, Picklist. What should I choose?
Picklist.
Good. Picklist. Okay. I just choose state. I'll explain you what global value set is. That's also one of the new features in Salesforce. I'll explain you, in the later. So I'll just say MA, NY, CA, RI, CA, UT, like, some of the states that we have. Of course, we want to restrict the pick list to the value defined set. Just save next. Save a new. Okay. I want to ask you this one last question. I want to add postal code or zip code. What should be the data type?
It should be number.
Should it be number or text?
Text.
Why should it be text and not number?
Zip code could be in letters too, if possible.
Just considering only United States.
Okay. Because there's a
Number.
or there's a hyphen in there.
That's good. That's one good reason. Yes, there is a hyphen in there because if you look at the actual zip code can be 5 characters, but it will have a 4-digit extension, right? Like a sub zip code or whatever it is. There is a hyphen. Good. Is there any other reason? Like I'm looking for one more reason, which is one of the reasons that's overlooked even by so much experienced people.
Space.
Okay. Okay. I just want to use my zip code as an example. The zip code where I live is 02169. Okay. It starts with a 0.
Oh.
Now, if I choose the data type as number is nothing but in the backend it's an integer. If I choose the data type as number, in the backend it's an integer. So a 0, like if a number starts with 0, it wouldn't retain, right? It will have no value. So it would automatically drop the 0. So if I put in the zip code as 02169 and store it, it would only store 2169, but not the 0 before it. Like, and I live in 02169. So if I choose the data type as a number, there is absolutely no way. I mean, there is, I'm making a mistake for my zip code. It is showing as 2169, whereas the actual zip code is 02169. Okay, so that's why zip code have to be a text. I've seen lot of projects. I've seen couple projects so far where they created the zip code field as a number field, and after a few days they saw, oh man, we made a mistake, and they redid the whole thing by converting it into text. See, all the plain ones, straight ones are easy. See, this is the importance of a data type. Like when you're making a decision, this is what, like you need to think about some scenarios. Hyphen is a good scenario actually, because when in a zip code, we type in the regular 5-digit zip code, but if you take USPS or UPS, they will add a hyphen and add 4 more digits. Now hyphen, if it is a number field, it's purely integer, if it's a number field. So there is no scope for hyphen in an integer. So, that wouldn't work. Whereas if you choose a text field, of course, you can put whatever you want. You can add 0. You can just do anything. So zip code, I'll create it as, I'll just mark it as postal code. You can mark it as 10 characters, including the, you can see this length is nothing but postal code, we know 02169, a hyphen and 4 characters. So at a max, it can have only 10 characters, right? So I put it as 10. So if somebody is trying to add a zip code of more than those characters, it wouldn't allow, because, even if you type, the typing wouldn't take it in, because we are setting the maximum length of that column as 10 characters. Okay. So next, and save. So if we go here, let me just refresh it once. So we have street, city, state, postal code. Okay, we have all this information. Is there anything that we are missing? Is there any important field that we are missing from this object? Just think as a wear the hat of a business analyst and tell me if we are missing any field here.
Country?
Sorry?
Country?
Okay. From address, I mean, we are as that's a good one. Yes, country is missing. If we are a global company, of course, yes, country is definitely useful. That's a good point. Anything else? With respect to the conference, I'll keep another example in front of mine. Yeah, look at this one. Like, think as a BA. Like, don't think as a developer or anything. Just think as a BA and say, would there be an... Sorry?
Time.
Good. Duration, right? Yeah, that's what duration is important. Like, we have the schedule time, but we do not know, like, whenever there is a conference, of course, there will be a duration, like 1 hour, 2 hour, whatever it is. So, yeah, duration. So how do we capture duration? Like, what would be the data type that would help us in capturing duration? Or like, give me some idea how better we can capture duration here.
Time? I mean, date time.
Okay, and do so date time for and do what? Store what in there? I cannot. Let's say my duration is 2 hours.
Starting time and conference ending time. With that, we can get
that's good. So schedule time is this, and I can have another date time field and say end time, and just mark it as 27/2/2019, 2 p.m. So that way it starts at 12 and it ends at 2 p.m. Okay. Or what else we can do?
Do we need to have the...
We can add text field and directly hard code it. 3 hours, something which is good.
Okay, 3 hours. Okay, that's one idea. Good.
How about the Eastern time or the Central time?
Yes, I mean that's good one. We are missing that too. So all we said is we said schedule time, but we didn't say which time zone it is. Of course, if we are in a country like America, we need to clearly say what time zone it is. That's a good one. So any other idea on how to capture the duration? So one good idea which I really like and which probably I would do would be to capture schedule time and end time. And I'll capture the end time as like 2 p.m. or 3 p.m., whatever it is. The other way, text one, somebody told text. It's a good idea, but what happens is there will not be consistency. I mean, 2 hours, or somebody might say 2.5 hours, or somebody say 30 minutes. So there will not be consistency with respect to reporting or anything. So the other probable idea, what I would think is, I will create a field. I will name it as duration in minutes. Like the field label itself, I'll make it as duration in minutes, and I'll make it a number field so that people will enter either 10 minutes, 10, 20, 30, 120, 160, depending on how many minutes it is. I mean, I can make it duration in hours, but not too complicated. If there is a half an hour session, they would have to go for a decimal. So instead of that, I might just put, I mean, the best solution that I love is having end time. Probably the second preferred solution that I would want to have is I'll have a field, a number field with a label, duration in minutes. Okay, the label itself, I'll have duration in minutes, and I'll have it as a number field, so people can enter how many minutes they want. I mean, how many minutes the schedule is done for. Okay. but the preferred is absolutely end time. Like, the preferred is absolutely what time it's starting and what time it's ending. Okay. Any questions so far? Now, again, like I said, if you are really building a conference app, I'm sure most of the fields would absolutely be there, but depending on your company's requirement, some of the things might change. And don't worry, it's not our job, like as a developer or as an admin, it's not our job to be able to determine what fields are there. This is the job of a business analyst. They will say, hey, if you are building a conference management app, business analysts will give us data requirements. Like they will give us the data requirements, and in the data requirements document, they will say, I need a drop-down field, I need a time field, I need a schedule time field, I need a field called agenda, and they will also give us a markup, like, I need these fields. But if you are working for a small company, if the team cannot afford a B or and they hired you as an admin or a developer, sometimes when they give us the requirements, we need to use our creativity and come up with, hey, I want to have these fields. Now, just because a BA gives you some requirement doesn't mean it's written strongly. So you can always go back to them and say, hey, you know what? Instead of capturing the time in a text field, why don't we have an end time field? Or why don't we standardize it so that it is useful for reporting? Because, their thought is in one perspective, but you should bring few things on the table. And people who bring those thoughts and people who initiate those communication go back to, and those are the people who are valued more in the company, because you are not just doing your job. You can just see the data requirements and copy as it is, or you can also think, like, use our common sense and think, would this be a right one? Maybe from reporting standpoint, what would make more sense? So you can think about those lines, and it's a conversation. You're not contradicting your BA. You can just go and say, hey, I'm thinking this would give more flexibility. What do you think? And then you initiate a conversation, but of course, finally, you would listen to whatever they say, but you initiate it, you take the feedback, and you go from there. And people who does that, people who use those skills and people who communicate those are the people who are valued more, rather than the people who just, blindly take in the document and do it. Okay. Now, tomorrow we'll see a few things about dependent picklist. I want to talk about another feature called dependent picklist, which is highly important and a powerful feature. And then I would want to talk about validation rules tomorrow on the same object. Okay. It's just, we are trying to explore the platform feature. In reality, we might not use it in this scenario, but it might be useful in another scenario. But let's learn. Let's see what that feature is. Okay, we'll talk about dependent picklist and validation rules tomorrow, 10 a.m. EST.
So what is that missing in this object? Like you're expecting something else. We were like.
No. I was just expecting about end time, the duration and end time. I was just expecting that. Like, we have a scheduled time, but some kind of duration have to be there, right? Sessions cannot be open-ended, so that's the only thing that I was expecting. Okay. Any questions, anybody? All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 10 o'clock.